yep, I'm flipping almost to the end of the notes booklet here. What we're going to do now is make a unit circle. Okay, we are going to do this about 200 more times before you graduate. You get to look at this thing all the time. You can ask any grade 12s how many times they've looked at this thing. Okay, so the first thing is we're going to make a pattern on this circle using angles of 30, 45, 60, and 90. Okay, so let's go write the quadrant. So over here we have 0 degrees, right? What's the angle right at the top? 90. What's the half circle? 180. At the bottom, 270. And then to end, what's the ending? 360. Okay, so the next is 30 degrees. So if I go 30 degrees, this is just 30 degrees. Okay, back to 180. What's 30 lower? 150. What's 30 more? 210. Okay, and from this line, the 360, what's 30 lower? 330. Okay, now the next increment is a 45. So this one's just 45. Okay, I'm at 180. What's 45 lower? 135. What's 180? 45 bigger. 225. Okay, and then from 360, what's 45 smaller? 315. Okay, so then the next increment is a 60 degree. So then this one's just 60. Okay, what's 180? What's 60 smaller? 120. What's 180? 60 bigger? 240. What's 360? 60 smaller? 300. Okay, I taught you that way because when we get to grade 12, we're going to do something way more complicated, and that's the process that I want to do. Lots of you will probably just start going all the way around like this, and you're probably like 30, 45, 60, 90, and then go 30 more, 15 more, 30 more, or sorry, 30, 15, 15, 30, 30, 15, 15, 30. You'll probably just add like that, and that's fine, but I wanted to do the whole process because in grade 12, when we get really complicated, then I want you to understand that. Okay, because they're all about references. Okay, now we're going to give ourselves coordinates. So this circle is called the unit circle because anywhere on this circle, the radius, it has a radius of 1. That's what's important about this circle. The radius is 1. On a graph, if you were to graph, the radius would be 1. Okay, so what is the coordinate over here? Think about your grid, how you graph something. What's the x comma the y? 1, 0. Okay, let's go up to 90. What's the coordinate if you were to graph a point like that? What's the coordinate? 0, 1. Okay, I'm at 180. So if I'm to graph a coordinate like that, what's the coordinate called? -1, 0. And at 270, if you were to give the name of a coordinate like that, how do you name a coordinate like that? Zero, -1. Okay. Now we're going to fill in the rest. So here's the pattern. Okay. Root 0 over 2, root 1 over 2, root 2 over 2, root 3 over 2, root 4 over 2. See how I make that pattern? Okay. I simplified this one because what is root 0? 0 divided by 2 is just 0. The root of 1 is just 1, so I can change that. The root of 2, I can't do anything. The root of 3, I can't do anything, so they stayed. What is the root of 4? 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Okay, so I'm going to use these 5 items and fill out the whole circle. Okay, so here's what I do. Okay, so I got my finger on 90 and 270. They have an x value of 0. Okay, I'm going to move to the right. These are now going to have x values of 1/2 because I'm going to get bigger. I'm moving to the right and I'm getting bigger. Both of them, because they both line up like this. Do you see where they're lined up? Do you see how they're lined up on an x value of 1/2? That's what they're lined up with. Okay, ready? I'm going to move more to the right. So what do these two have the same x value? So what's the next bigger? Root 2 over 2. Which as a decimal is like 0.7-ish. So this was a 0.5, this is a 0.7-ish. Okay, now can you move to the right? So these will have an x value of root 3 over 2. And then right, and then that should have an x value of 1, and we already put it there. Okay, now I'm going to reset. I'm going to go back to the 90 and 270. Now I'm going to move left. So these are going to have a -1/2. Okay, I'm ready to move to the next pair. These are going to have -root 2 over 2. I'm going to move again. So this would be -root 3 over 2. And then the last one should have a -1. And it does. Okay, we already filled those ones in. Okay, we're done all the x. So now we're going to go through the y's. Okay, so I'm going to put my finger at 0 and 180 degrees. So these have a y value of 0, and I'm going to move up. So these are going to be a height of 1/2. I'm going to move up. So the next would be root 2 over 2. I'm going to move up. So these will have a root 3 over 2. And then I'm going to move up, and it has a height of 1. Okay, then I reset, and then I go down. So 0, go down, so -1/2. I go down, so -root 2 over 2. I go down, -root 3 over 2. Down, -1. Okay, here's some other things you can do. Check. In this quadrant, x comma y should be positive comma positive. Is it? Did all yours come out that way, right? So that's good. What should be going on in this quadrant? Negative comma positive. Your coordinates should all be something negative comma something positive. What's going on in this quadrant? Negatives. Everything's negative. And in quadrant 4, what should go on with your coordinates? Positive comma negative. Did you also notice this in my pattern? This was my pattern. Did you notice that zeros and ones were always matched up with each other? Did you notice the 1/2 and √3/2s were always matched up with each other? Right? And did you notice that √2s/2s were always matched up with themselves? Okay? And did you notice that if I wanted to write this, that was the correct way? This was somebody who did it the wrong way. And this, if you were writing, that's wrong. You want to write it out of the square root. Okay, so your one thing is now on page 5 in your booklet. Now try to do it without looking. You're going to do it one time. It's on page 5. See if you can do it without looking.